TV, movies, video games, and music. Crane Productions 27 asks, how did you get introduced to Doctor Who?
I was introduced to Doctor Who through the 2005 episode The End of the World with Christopher Eccleston. But back then I wasn't exactly into the show as I am now. In fact, the only times I actually did get into the show was when David Tennant became the Doctor. So I was introduced to it in 2005 and then became a proper Whovian when David Tennant came along.
Lerbo Rock Strikes Back asks, when did you first watch Doctor Who?
In 2005 when it came back on the TV.
Almation asks, have you enjoyed Series 10 of Doctor Who this year?
Yeah, I really did enjoy Series 10 this year. I thought it was a huge improvement from Series 9. And the series finale wasn't a cop-out like the Series 9 finale was. Like, I loved how they brought back the Cybermen, like 3 different versions of them. The original Mondasian design, the design from 2006, and the design from 2013. It was just a great way to bring back 3 of those Cybermen designs. But the thing I really loved about the finale was bringing back John Sim as the Master, because he worked off really well with Michelle Gomez. And that makes me wonder if the two would ever consider being in projects again, outside of Doctor Who. Because I think they had great chemistry in the episode. So Series 10 is definitely a great improvement since Series 5.
RCoviper6 asks, what's your favorite season of Doctor Who from 2005 onwards?
My favourite series of Doctor Who are every series with David Tennant in them, and Series 10.
CCW22 Genesis Prague asks, who is your favorite incarnation of the Doctor?
My favourite incarnation of the Doctor is the 10th Doctor, played by David Tennant, because he was the one that got me introduced to the show properly and got me watching it properly. So David Tennant is and always will be my Doctor.
JamieBoy95 asks, do you like watching the original Fireman Sam?
Well, duh. Who the hell doesn't? It's much better than watching that CGI piece of crap we got now.
KingFan701 asks, which is your favorite Star Wars film of the saga?
I know you're going to think I'm crazy, but my favourite Star Wars film in the saga is Revenge of the Sith from 2005. I know that's a strange choice because a lot of people really hate the prequels, but for me that was the prequel that felt the most like a Star Wars film, even if we did have to put up with some of the bullshit moments and the wooden acting. But prequel-wise, I do like this film because it's more like the original Star Wars films compared to the first 2 prequels. And I also really loved The Force Awakens because that was a great new film for the sequel saga. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the other episodes in the saga as well as the spin-off films.
Eli JB asks, what do you think of the Sonic level pack for LEGO Dimensions?
I think it's an awesome LEGO version of Sonic the Hedgehog. And I think they should bring out a solo LEGO Sonic the Hedgehog game.
Gromit01 asks, which Wallace and Gromit film is your favorite and why?
My favourite Wallace and Gromit film is The Von Trousers, because that's the one I have the most fond memories watching. And it introduces me to one of my favourite villains of all time, Feathers McGraw, a villain who I think should return in a future Wallace and Gromit film. So favourite is, and always will be, The Von Trousers.
Liam Fitzgerald asks, who are your favorite Mr. Men and Little Misses?
For the Mr. Men and Little Miss, my favourite Mr. Man is Mr. Grumpy, because I find his story in the book the most entertaining. Because I love how grumpy he was being to everyone and then got tickled by Mr. Tickle every now and then. It was just one of the stories from the books and the TV series that made me laugh the most. And for Little Miss, I love Little Miss Tiny, because to me she's the cutest Little Miss in the series. And I've even given her some cameos every now and then in Second Co and TTT. And I've got a soft spot for the really cute characters.
BassBanter93 asks, which Wind in the Willows and Fireman Sam videos did you have when you were growing up in the 90s?
For Wind in the Willows, the only videos of that I had was like combination videos of various TV shows for kids that were back in the day, like Thomas the Tank Engine, Rosie and Jim, Brum, Sooty, The Rainbow, Wind in the Willows, Topsy and Tim, all that jazz. And for Fireman Sam, I used to have pretty much all of the videos of the original Fire and Sam episodes. And I used to watch those a lot in the 90s.
Bear1997 asks, do you like the original Bob the Builder?
If I'm honest, the original Bob the Builder wasn't the best children's TV show I've ever seen, especially compared to Fire and Sam, Postman Pat, and a lot of the other children's shows I've seen. But it's a really nice kids show. I like how it shows them building stuff and all that, even if the idea of talking vehicles isn't an original one. But yeah, the original Bob the Builder is definitely better than the current Bob the Builder.
Dr. GWR Lord 2003 asks, what do you think of Bob the Builder?
Original, great. New, shit.
Liam Fitzgerald also asks, if you watched CBeebies, what shows did you watch?
That's a very good question. When I was young, I used to watch a lot of shows on CBeebies. But the ones I can remember the most are Balamori and Pingu. And every now and then they'd air Little Robots, the Koala Brothers, and Noddy's Toyland Adventures. Those are the ones that I can remember the most being on CBeebies.
Our COVID per 6 and Rizzo2612 Studios asks, of the first Sonic cartoons, Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic ZAM, and Sonic Underground, etc., which is your most favorite?
Out of the first 3 Sonic the Hedgehog cartoons, my favourite would have to be Sonic ZAM, because that has dark storylines, dramatic moments, well-developed characters, and the most awesome badass Robotnik ever, voiced by Jim Cummings. And I like the other 2 as well for nostalgia, but ZAM is my most favourite for the reasons I've just listed.
Dr. GWR Lord 2003 also asks, what is your favorite Disney TV show from the 90s?
My favourite Disney TV shows from the 90s were DuckTales, Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers and Tailspin, because those are the ones I have the most fond memories of watching.
Joseph Marison asks, what's your opinion on Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart in Doctor Who?
The only times I've ever seen the Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart was in the Sarah Jane Adventures episode, Enemy of the Bane. But I thought he was a really good character, and I like how he talked about how he used to take on various aliens in his days of UNIT. And I think it's a real shame that the actor passed away, because I think it would have been nice if he'd have had a reunion with the Doctor in the new series. But I am glad that they got his daughter Kate Stewart. So I think the Brigadier is a really enjoyable character from what I've seen, and I might consider watching more classic episodes with him in it.
My D57S also asks, what are your thoughts on Theodore Tugboat compared to Tugs?
I've only seen very few episodes of Theodore Tugboat, and compared to Tugs, Theodore Tugboat to me looks like toy boats on a harbour set compared to Tugs. Because the Tugs models moved more realistically and they had more detail in them. Like you could see bits of rust in their paint job. But with Theodore Tugboat, to me it just looks like obvious model boats. So Theodore Tugboat to me is kind of amateur compared to Tugs.
Kevin Devaney asks, in one of your previous Q&As, you mentioned that you saw some episodes of Shining Time Station on YouTube. Which episodes have you watched? Do you have a favorite? And what is your personal opinion on the show itself?
Most episodes I've seen were pretty much every episode from the first series with Ringo Starr. And I think my favourite episode would have to be the one where it's Harry's birthday and they're planning a surprise party for him and Mr. Conductor's trying to build up the courage to say hi to Harry. I think that was the one I enjoyed the most.
Bazbanter93 also asks, do you remember a show called Joshua Jones? It was by the same company that made the original Fireman Sam.
If I'm honest, I never really watched Joshua Jones. In fact, back in the day I never even heard of it. And it was only years later that I found out about it. But I haven't watched an episode of it yet, but I might do just to, see what it's like.
KingFan701 also asks, which video games do you still play?
The most video games I still play on are every single Mario Brothers game that I've had. like every single game from the Mario franchise, and LEGO Dimensions and other LEGO games I played.
Donkey Kong Brawl Smash asks, what are your favorite video games?
My favourite video games are Super Mario 64, Luigi's Mansion, the Mario Party games, LEGO Dimensions, the LEGO Star Wars games, LEGO City Undercover, and my favourite of all, Super Smash Bros. Franchise. Those games just kick major ass.
Garrett Lesueur asks, since you have references to Wacky Races and Dastardly and Muttley on their Flying Machines series, have you also seen the other Wacky Races spin-off series, The Perils of Penelope Pitstop?
Yes, I have seen Perils of Penelope Pitstop. It was one of the many Hanna-Barbera shows I used to watch on Cartoon Network back in the 90s. And I did enjoy Perils of Penelope Pitstop, but I just liked Wacky Races and Dastardly and Muttley and their flying machines more. But yeah, I did enjoy Perils of Penelope Pitstop. I especially loved the Hooded Claw as the villain, and how he referenced Dick Dastardly in one of the episodes. But it's been a long time since I've watched the show as a full, so I might rewatch it again if I can find the episodes, and just to refresh my memory and get back in touch with my childhood, as they say.
Garrett Lesueur also asks, what theme or themes would you like LEGO to do someday in the future?
For LEGO themes, I would definitely love to see the Doctor Who LEGO packs be expanded upon since the TARDIS set from LEGO Ideas. Because of what they've shown in LEGO Dimensions, there's so many possibilities for future sets and minifigures in LEGO Doctor Who. So that is one I'd really love to see in the future, like more Doctor Who sets.
TankEngine97 asks, have you heard about the new DuckTales?
I have heard about the new DuckTales reboot, and I've watched the very first episode and loved it.
Great Productions 27 asks, if you watch DuckTales, what do you think of the new rebooted series?
I did watch the first episode of the rebooted series of DuckTales, and while it's not exactly up there with the original show, I think it's top notch for a reboot. I mean, it's obvious that the writers loved the original DuckTales as well as the comics, and wanted to put so much of that love and time and effort into this show. And David Tennant, even though he's no Alan Young, just played the part of Scrooge really well so far.
Lambo Rock Strikes Back also asks, what's better, Force Awakens or Rogue One?
Even though I like both Force Awakens and Rogue One, I think I like Force Awakens more, because it carries on with the stories of the Star Wars films, and I love Kylo Ren as a villain.
Eli JB also asks, have you watched anime before?
The animes I used to watch back in the 90s were mostly Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z. Those were the two that often get repeated on Sky One and Cartoon Network, which is kind of odd, because looking back at Dragon Ball Z these days, it's more adult, so I don't get why they put it on a kids channel. But those were the two I watched mostly.
The Kid Pirates asks, do you like One Piece?
I gotta be honest with you, Kid Pirates guy. I never watched One Piece. It was one of those animes that I never really heard of at the time, and I just can't really get into it these days. So I don't really have an opinion on One Piece.
Joseph Marison asks, what do you think of the Third Doctor's car Bessie?
Ah yes, John Pertwee's Doctor's car Bessie. Now I gotta be honest, I never watched any of the John Pertwee episodes at all, but I have seen the car Bessie at the Doctor Who experience in Cardiff, and it's a really nice looking car. I've even got a glimpse of it in the LEGO Dimensions Doctor Who level pack of the game. I even got to see it in the Doctor Who level pack of LEGO Dimensions. And I'd honestly like to see it a lot more often in the show. Like perhaps they make some references to it in an episode, or perhaps it makes a comeback in an episode where the Doctor reunites with Unit. Well, who knows, I'd like to see and hear more references to Bessie in the future.
Lambo Rock Strikes Back also asks, are you excited about Star Wars The Last Jedi?
Well, of course I'm excited about Star Wars The Last Jedi. Who the hell isn't?
MC Siblings 2 TV Studios asks, would you ever become a brony? Bronies who are fans or... by the way, bronies are fans of My Little Pony, though we've already established that.
Well, if I'm honest, I don't think I ever will become a brony. Now don't get me wrong, I have seen some episodes of My Little Pony, and I can see why boys like them. Now don't get me wrong, I have seen a couple of episodes of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, and I can see why women and even men like it, but it's really not my cup of tea if I'm completely honest with you. So even though I find it to be a decent show, I don't think I'll ever become a brony.
Doctor Who 3029 also asks, have you seen Guardians Volume 2?
No, I haven't seen Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, nor Volume 1. Because if I'm completely honest, I'm just not as into Marvel as other people are. I'm more in the DC crowd.
TCW22 Genesis Prong also asks, what is your favorite band?
Now I've got quite a few favourite bands, which include Oasis, Shed 7, U2, The Killers, The Pogues, and just so many that I could go on forever talking about them, but the ones I just listed are my top favourite.
KingFan701 asks, what do you think of Ben Affleck as Batman when comparing him to the others who have portrayed him in the past, and do you think Affleck is among the best Batman actors?
Now, having watched Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice, I honestly thought that Ben Affleck's Batman was one of the best parts of the movie. Alongside Jeremy Irons as Alfred, the visuals and the action, Ben Affleck's Batman just stole the film for me. And I'm really looking forward to seeing more of him in the DC cinematic universe. So in answer to your question, Ben Affleck's really growing on me as Batman, and I'm really excited to see more of him in the future.
Donkey Kong Brawl Smash also asks, what do you think of the Adam West Batman series?
Ooh, well, it's been such a long time since I've watched an actual episode of the Adam West Batman series. I mean, I used to get a glimpse of some episodes when I was a kid back in the day, because they used to do a few reruns on some TV stations, and my parents used to have some episodes recorded on VHS. And it has been a while since I've watched the show, but I do really enjoy Adam West's performance in the show. Since I've seen some of the clips from his episodes, as well as films like the bomb scene, and I still can't get the theme song out of my head. So it's a nice comedy Batman show.
Koala Bear 1997 asks, who is your favorite character on The Young Ones?
I'd have to say my favourite character from The Young Ones is Rick, played by the late Rick Mail, because he seems to be the most iconic character in the group. Because he's always the one that has one of the loudest voices in the group, aside from Vivian. And pretty much everything that comes out of Rick's mouth is gold, as is with every Rick Mail performance. So, Rick's my favourite character in The Young Ones.
Matthew Miro asks, what Playhouse Disney shows do you remember?
Ooh, well, if I'm honest, it's been ages since I've watched any Playhouse Disney shows. I mean, the most I can remember Disney show-wise is the stuff that was on regular Disney, like Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers, DuckTales, Tailspin, Darkwing Duck, Quack Pack, Disney's House of Mouse, and the Aladdin show, and Timon and Pumbaa, and the Little Mermaid show, and various others that were based on Disney shows and films. Oh, and I also remember watching Recess and loving that show as a kid. But for Playhouse Disney, I can't really think of any off the top of my head.
JamieBoy95 asks, what movies have you seen so far in 2017?
The 2017 movies that I've seen so far are the Lego Batman movie, Power Rangers, and Wonder Woman. There just hasn't been a lot of films that I've been interested to see this year at the moment.
Eli JB also asks, have you been told who is the cast for the new Unikitty show?
Well, the most I know about the upcoming Unikitty show, voice cast-wise, is they got Tara Strong to voice Unikitty herself. And even though she's a really good choice, and I could just imagine Tara Strong's voice coming out of Unikitty's mouth, I don't really understand why they didn't get Alison Bray to do the voice, since she did the voice in the original film as well as Lego Dimensions. Well, I guess she must be busy with other projects, including the Lego Movie sequel. But I'm really looking forward to seeing the Unikitty show and seeing how it'll turn out. And I'm sure I'm going to love Tara Strong as Unikitty, because she was just born to play cute characters. So really looking forward to the Unikitty show, and looking forward to hearing Tara Strong's voice coming out of her mouth.
The Kid Pirates also asks, what is your favorite girl band?
Well, I don't really have a favourite girl band, if I'm honest. I mean, most of the bands I've heard were the ones that I just talked about in a few questions before. So, I honestly don't really have a favourite girl band.
Koala Bear 1997 also asks, do you like the Thunderbirds 2004 live-action movie?
When I first saw it in 2004, loved it. But today, it's okay. Not great, not terrible, it's just okay. I mean, there are some things that I do like about it, like some of the visuals on the Thunderbirds and vehicles, and I especially love Ben Kingsley as the Hood. I mean, he just looks the part and sounds the part. And it's very rare that you can find a live actor who looks like one of the... And it's very rare that you can find a live actor that actually looks like an animated character. But Ben Kingsley just looked and acted and sounded the part of the Hood. So, for the Thunderbirds live-action movie, it's not as good as I remember it, but Ben Kingsley's still awesome as the Hood.
Jellytoy Productions Official asks, who is your favorite and least favorite actress?
I'd have to say that my most favourite actress is Catherine Tate. Well, I've got quite a few favourite actresses. One of them being Catherine Tate because she's hilarious in the Catherine Tate Show, and she and David Tennant worked really well together in Doctor Who. I also love Dawn French because of her work in The Vicar of Dibley, which is one of my favourite comedy shows. But I don't really have a least favourite actress. So out of all the actresses I've seen, Catherine Tate and Dawn French are my two top favourites.
Doctor Who 3029 also asks, have you met Terry Hatcher, other mother from Coraline 09?
No, I haven't met her.
Jellytoy Productions Official also asks, what are your thoughts on the DreamWorks animated films?
Well, obviously DreamWorks isn't exactly as whimsical as the classic Disney films are, but the ones I've seen in the past, like the Shrek films, are really entertaining. And of course the films they worked on with Aardman. So DreamWorks isn't exactly as good as it used to be, in my opinion, but I still enjoy the Shrek films. So yeah, it's not up there with Disney, but they still did great films in the past.
Stephen Mahoney 22 asks, what do you think of Red Dwarf?
I've only seen very few episodes of Red Dwarf, but I think it's funny. Not one of the best comedy shows I've ever seen, but it's still really funny.